Hello, and welcome back to our interview series for Occupy the Stage 22. Thanks so much for hanging out with us while we roll out readings and wonderful interviews with the artists that helped to make this all possible. I am very excited to have a group of those artists right here on your screen right now. Let's talk to them. I will let them introduce themselves now.
Hi. Hi, my name is Alice Hakvaag. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm the playwright for Acute Exposure.
I'm Lindsay Carpenter. My pronouns are she, her, and my play that I wrote for Occupy is Out of Balance.
Hi, I'm Haley St. James. My pronouns are they, them, theirs, and my play for Occupy the Stage 22 is for Leonora or Companions.
Hey everyone, my name is Hannah Levinson and I use she, her pronouns, and I am the director for the wonderful Alice's production of Acute Exposure.
Hi, I'm Johannah Maynard Edwards. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the director for Lindsay's play Out of Balance.
Yes, so many good stories to be told this lovely afternoon. So we are going to start in traditional Theater's Not Dead fashion and ask the question, so, how'd you get started in theater? I'm going to pick someone at random. Let's start with Hannah.
Yeah. So this is a very apt question because, we are talking about theater for young audiences, and I myself was one of those young baby artists who started. I really like to dance. I really like to sing. My parents said, great, let's put you in a musical. That was when I was 11 years old, and it's been many years since then. So just a joy of theater, starting from being on the stage, which quickly translated to realizing that I really like to collaborate with other people. Being in the rehearsal room is my favorite part, hence why I've gone on to directing. So that's kind of the trajectory that brought me here, is just being a wee babe who loved it and kept loving it forever.
We love wee babe thespians, absolutely. Lindsay.
Sure. I mean, my story is actually pretty similar to Hannah's. I started doing theater when I was 9 and mostly started with acting, then was convinced I wanted to be a director and still do some directing work. But I was writing from before that. Like I just always wrote, always told stories, always like played pretend. And just love words. So at some point around high school, I realized like this is something people actually do, and there are playwrights who are alive, and this is a career, or it can be. And that's sort of where I started getting into it.
Haley.
Oh gosh. Okay. So my love of theater started when I was 4 years old. My parents took me to see Peter Pan at the Wang Theater in Boston. And I was completely in love with it and wanted to be Peter Pan and wanted to do theater. And I always loved performing. And most of my life up until through high school, I was like, yes, no, I want to be a performer. I want to go to theater school. I want to be an actor. I want to do musical theater. I don't dance, but I would like to be in musical theater. I did a lot of high school. I did theater in high school. And I was on my high school speech team. My event was children's literature, so I would do dramatic readings of children's literature. I've always been a big reader. I love words. I always loved writing, wrote a lot of fan fiction growing up. Always creative writing was always one of my best subjects in high school, whatever. But by the time I went to college, I started college, and my first college was not a good fit for me. And I was very, very depressed. Was very, very, very at a bad place in my life. And on a whim, I was in school in New Jersey at the time. And it was early 2015. It was the beginning of my second semester of college, and I was just not doing well. So I impulse bought a ticket to a first preview of a little show called Something Rotten. And I went first preview, and this show literally not only saved my life and made me feel joy for the first time in God knows how long, it made me realize that I think I want to be a playwright, because Something Rotten is a musical about two playwrights who are rivals with William Shakespeare. And one of the actors in the show is John Cariani, who is also one of, if not the most produced playwrights in America. And I loved the show so much, and I kept going back and back. And John and I started talking, and he was like, Haley, maybe you should try playwriting. And I was like, I think I might. So by my second year at my first college, I started taking playwriting, realized, yeah, no, I need to leave this school after this school year. But I took playwriting and realized I think this is what I want to do with my life. So I transferred to Marymount Manhattan College. I got my degree in writing for the stage. And it's been pretty much just that, loving writing for the theater ever since.
What a wild story. But I think the part that I took the most out of was, so you wrote fan fiction too?
Yes, very much so. Yeah, there's infamously a very stupid Harry Potter fan fiction I wrote. That's not really about Harry Potter at all. It has its own TV tropes page. It's just, I don't know, fan fiction was a big part of my life, and I mean, I still love it. I love doing silly dramatic readings of it with friends. Doesn't matter the fandom. It's just fun to read.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no,
Absolutely.
love the writing. Both my partners are writers. It's great. Writing is just my life.
Yes. Alice.
Yeah, similarly to a lot of folks, I was in a very artistic family. They got me into theater when I was young to help me get over a lot of shyness. I went to school for acting, but I always knew that I wanted to study multiple things because I knew that would keep me employed. I thought it was more important to stay in the room than to really focus on one thing. That said, I never studied playwriting, and I only kind of briefly came in with it during college. And then after I graduated, and definitely more so during the pandemic, it's the one part of theater you can kind of do by yourself. So in the year where we couldn't meet safely, I realized, I was like, okay, if I keep writing things, and at that point I had 2 full lengths under my belt, I was like, if I keep writing things and sending them out, people want to put things up right now because we're all a little hungry for that. And that's a way for me to keep these artistic muscles flexing, and so that I can still feel some kind of fulfillment during a time in theater where things got very stagnant and dark. So yeah, it was a very good pivot. I'm glad that I did it. I still do the other things, but this has opened a lot of doors for me that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
I've never looked at playwriting as like, yeah, that is very much the one thing that like you don't need a buddy to do.
It's the only thing in theater that isn't collaborative, and
fair. Yeah, I just never considered that. Johannah.
Yeah, very similarly. I mean, my life was theater. But from just a very young age, I had this like rich inner life in, this imaginary world that I would escape to. So that's part of why Haley's play spoke to me so much about this creating these imaginary worlds for yourself, and these characters who live alongside you. So I mean, that's my earliest bits of theater, and as a mom now, getting to see that in my own son, getting to see him theatricalize and act out everything in his life, it makes me so excited and so proud. And Haley, the other thing you said about reading children's books, I have said over the years, I swear I have a $250,000 degree in reading children's books. Well, like when I was a substitute teacher, they sent me around to all the classrooms to do the read alouds because I would engage all the kids. But yeah, that's my earliest theatrical life, I think.
I do think that there's something about like fostering creativity in children at a young age, and then they all grow up to be the artists that we are now looking up to today. They end up being the Johannahs and the Alices and the Lindsays and the Haleys and the Hannahs of the world. So yes, you have a child that may be a little shy, put them in acting classes. That's what I'm getting out of this conversation. But we are gonna Excuse me. So we are going to shift a little bit and talk about your specific shows for Occupy. So what are they about and why are they important to you? Please refrain from any spoilers. I specifically didn't call on anybody. Acute Exposure. Let's start with that one.
Sure. It's about Acute Exposure is about two high schoolers growing up in New Mexico who become very interested with the waste isolation power plant that's being dug in their county. The purpose of that plant is to bury tons and tons of radioactive waste until it finally becomes unradioactive in 10,000 years. And as they explore more and more about that and get more interested in it, they also discover more about each other and themselves and become closer than they ever thought that they might be. Hannah, did I do a good job?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think something else that I would say about this story, and at least why it's meaningful to me, is that you get to meet, young characters who are exploring who they are and their own identities and what they mean to each other in real time. And it's been really special to work with other young actors and as a queer theater maker myself, just kind of create a community space to just explore stories where there's joy and there's intrigue and there's curiosity, and we can really answer those questions and follow these characters on their journey together. So it's just great to watch young queer talent speak for themselves and say, we are here and this is our story, and it's so fun, having so much fun telling it.
Ooh, so good. Out of Balance.
Yeah, I feel like this is the hardest play of mine to talk about because 80% of it is a spoiler. So the quick, simple version of what it's actually physically about is it's about a 13-year-old named Bailey who wants to go camping alone with no one else. And her mom, who they've always been really close and always gotten along, doesn't want to leave her 13-year-old alone in in the woods by herself. And so it goes from this really close relationship to it just slowly disintegrating over the play. And one of my favorite parts, I was actually talking to Johannah about this, is all of the conflict of this play is based in the fact that they greatly love each other and really want to understand each other. And after years of understanding each other, suddenly don't. And I think one of the coolest parts about this play for me is that it's a really simple play. I've been writing these really elaborate, often there's magic, often there's Westerns or mysteries or genres, big plays. And this one is just mostly these two women in a room with this presence of this man who kind of comes in various ways, only in two scenes though. So it's, almost that's almost a spoiler, so many almost spoilers in this play. So that's what Out of Balance is about.
Yeah.
Any other? Yeah.
Oh my God. Part of why I really love this play is this mother-daughter relationship, and that it is you enter into a world where before this play started, this is a very bonded duo of a single mom and daughter. And the out of balance refers to so many aspects of their relationship, but there's this power dynamic. There's this they've become kind of equals, and yet here the child is going through this big change, which all of us do, is going through puberty, is having changes and awakenings within themselves, but also with their reckoning and understanding of the world. And I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it's a play about climate grief and anxiety, and just kind of tying, I feel like all three of these plays have a beautiful little interplay between them over certain areas of topic. And what I was drawn to all of them is, I spent a semester teaching in a performing arts high school in 2019. And this generation, the queer kids, the weird kids, the theater kids, the artists, they are different. They are coming into a world that is different from the world that I grew up in, and that it's on them to change, to save the world, to save the planet. And they have these heavy existential burdens that they're just born into just by being kids born after 2000 or after 2010. And I think that we have to bear witness to that as older adults. And like, I'm only 40, but you know, I'm older than Bailey. And I think that is a beautiful part of, we have Ava the mother who's kind of living in one world and one reality of what the world is, and Bailey is coming into a new framework for the world, and it's amazing.
Wow, that's so much to consider, especially when, like, oh yeah, that's absolutely true about these younger generations. Absolutely true. For Leonora or companions.
Hold on, my mic got away from me for a second there. All right, so this is a piece that's this was the first full-length play I ever wrote. It's a gentle two-act about a young, like 20-something autistic girl named Nora who she collects books. She's just very socially awkward. She works at a CVS. She's just trying to live her life. But she's been visited by her childhood imaginary friend, who she's seeing as sort of her psychiatrist. And she's just dealing with figuring out her place in the world after, you know, reuniting with this part of her childhood, and also coming to terms with her sexuality and finding her person. And she meets this really cool, mysterious girl named Stephanie, who also has some interesting things of her own. And it's really about the relationship between Nora and Stephanie, and Nora and her imaginary friend, and just about finding our person, but also finding our place in the world as a queer autistic person. And yeah, I was really writing this play because I wanted to fill a void, because most neurodivergent rep is, you know, usually cisgender heterosexual men. And there's just a severe lack of diversity in the neurodivergent and also queer just representation in the media, theater first and foremost, because I mean, really the only like neurodivergence rep I've really seen in theater is Curious in the Dog in the Nighttime, which is, you know, 9 times out of 10 is cast with a cisgender heterosexual boy as Christopher. So I really just wrote this play because I just felt like there needs to be more representation for people like me and people in my communities. And I just try to tell it as authentically and truthfully and magically as possible.
I love those two qualifiers, as authentically and magically as possible. That, like, that's theater, right? The idea of like being truthful and being honest, while also recognizing that there's magic in storytelling and in being able to represent a demographic that you want to see somewhere, that you want stories to be told about. And each of these kind of carry, even though the burdens may be different or the experiences may be different, they're all communicating like, yeah, let's talk about these hard things. Let's talk about these relationships that are difficult to navigate, or that we don't think that we're gonna be as close, or the relationship's changing. Like, some heavy themes, friends. Heavy themes. Can't wait to see all of it. We are going to now talk about, hey, what are you know, like, looking forward to? What are you excited about regarding Occupy? And I refuse to call out people's names this time. I'm going to let you guys Hunger Games it out.
I'll go ahead and start because there's something really exciting that I'm looking forward to about these couple of plays is this. One of the actors who is in Acute Exposure and For Leonora or Companions is one of those cool teenagers that I taught for that one magical semester. And they are getting to play a role close to their identity in each of these plays. And I am so excited. So shout out to Sorel, who is performing in both of these plays. And I'm really excited to see, one of my kids grow into these roles. And I just thank you for writing plays for people like Kai. Thank you.
I didn't know they were in both of those. I'm so glad for
I
that.
didn't know either, because when I had first rehearsal and I saw Kai playing Stephanie, I was like, oh my gosh, they're so, I can't wait to see what they do with my character. It's just, they're magic. I'm so happy that they're in more than one play. That's so rad.
There it is, the magic coming again. I'm just saying, theater equals magic. There it is.
I'd say this is kind of like the biggest festival that I've been able to participate in. Usually for something like this, there's like maybe 2 or 3 other plays. And it really reminded me about how even though it feels like I'm just talking by myself in a room to a camera sometimes, there are dozens and hundreds and thousands of people making art that I very much love and would like to engage with. So the fact that this festival can kind of catch that feeling of an in-person fringe fest or an in-person camaraderie, I was like, ooh, I wasn't expecting this. And this is very nice. I haven't felt this in a very long time.
Yeah, I think just going off of that, something I'm so excited about is just the wide swath of genres and stories that all can be kind of contained by the ethos of the National Women's Theater Festival. Because really, at the end of the day, we just care about making sure that everyone is heard. And it sounds simple, but there can just be so many different lenses of that. And it's just such a joy to, really celebrate everything. And it's such an exciting lineup of plays, these included. So yeah, I'm just excited to see all these little gems and sparkling facets of humanity just, shine all together.
I mean, I think what I'm most excited about, and the others know about this, so I'm repeating, is the actor who's going to play my Bailey, my 13-year-old character, is actually Ginger, who's 11. And I'm just so excited to get to see someone close to the age of the character play it. Because I think it's a play that gets scary at times in a very specific way. And I think it's going to be scarier having someone who's 11 play it in the best of ways. So I'm really excited about that. But also I'm just excited to get to see all the YouTube comments. I remember that being so fun last year of just you feel like you're in a room with people because you could hear people cheering or read people cheering and saying, oh, wait, I saw that. And I remember it feels like a community. So I'm excited for that this year.
I mean, this is my first major festival, virtual type festival in about, nearly 2 years. Cause for Leonora Companions, was my first play reading out of the gate when I graduated college. Cause I graduated college literally a month before everything shut down. So right before Broadway shut down. So I was all ready to make my way into the theater world, get ready to submit to everything, and then boom, everything shut down. So I had, have, year and a half just working on other full lengths and other things. But my first reading, full Zoom internet reading was through Pride Plays, which was, co-produced by Rattlestick and Playbill. My dear Michael Urie was very instrumental in having my piece be part of that wonderful festival. And that was just such a wild experience to start 2020 with. And since then, it's been just sort of submitting things to things and hearing what happens, and not much really happened. I've had occasional Zoom readings here or there, mostly very quiet things, but nothing really to the caliber of Women's Theater Festival. And the nice funny thing is, between Pride Plays and Women's Theater Festival, I forgot I submitted to both festivals. And then when I get the email, or like in Pride Play's case, getting a Zoom call from Michael Urie, I was like, wait, I forgot I submitted. Oh, right. I'm a playwright. Duh. I forget these things because pandemic makes you forget just how time works. So I'm just really excited to get to see my play and other people's amazing work just put together virtually. And like the fact this one's going to be on YouTube is going to be very fun because I haven't had one really on YouTube. Like I kind of had one and last in 2020, fall of 2020. That was fun, but like it was this very limited audience, and this is going to be so much broader and just it's going to be such a wide swath of cool things happening, and I'm just really looking forward to it. Like just everything.
Oh, yes, I am not only excited for all the things that were currently listed, but just like conversations with these artists have been so fun for me personally. So I want to say thank you, artists on screen, for having a chat with me and coming and making time for some good old let's compare notes. What are we writing about? What are we feeling right now? So thanks for your time, and viewers, thanks for your time. We're going to keep rolling out more readings as the day and the weekend continues on. Occupy the Stage 22. We're doing it. It's a thing. That was not how I wanted to end this video, but we're here now, friends. So here we are. Okay, everybody. See you next time.
I didn't get to